Hello, my little pretties. What's up? It's your mistress, the Queen of Lions here, or Shadow Lioness, whatever you guys prefer to call me is perfectly okay. Um, yeah. Today, welcome back to another episode of Shadows and Pretties, and today this is episode 55. Holy crap, people! Episode 55. Wow. Well, I'm gonna sit here and say right now, if you guys are wondering why I sound dead inside, I'm just gonna sum it up in a few words because I don't want to talk about it because really too much because that would just mess up the episode. So let's just say I had a meltdown the other day and I was just, not in a great mood in the evening. So yeah, with that being the case, I hope you can understand that if I do feel dead inside, it's that. Okay. And I want to apologize for those who've seen it on Discord that I'm sorry for going off like crazy. I was like really, really, upset and stuff. And when I was having a breakdown, I couldn't really control myself or think about, rationally. So, with that being said, I really hope you all understand what I'm trying to say. So, today in this episode of Shadows and Pretties, I did Bride of Lindorm King, which was the last episode. And this episode, I decided to go ahead and find this American musical fantasy family film that was produced by Warner Brothers. Now, I'm going to sit there and talk about this one particular movie. I think maybe some of you guys might have saw this as a kid. Well, maybe you might have. If you were a kid growing up in the 90s or early 2000s, you probably have seen this movie, maybe on VHS when you were a kid, but and this is actually one of the movies that I don't remember watching on VHS, but after rewatching it for the first time in a long time, I kind of remembered it being good and stuff. So I'm going to sit here and basically say this right now. If you have not seen this movie, I highly recommend you go check it out. It's a pretty good movie, and I'm gonna sit here and say you are not going to be disappointed, and I can guarantee that you're not gonna be disappointed. You're gonna really like this movie. If you haven't seen it already, be sure you see it. Okay, I'm gonna sit there and just a spoiler alert, I'm gonna be spoiling everything about this movie. So if you don't want me to spoil it, please leave the video if you haven't done so. But if you guys have seen this, let's jump right into it. So, of course, The Quest for Camelot. Now, this movie was made in 1998, but however, though, I'm going to sit here and say that there is a video game based on it for Game Boy Color. I don't know why, but there is. And I am going to sit there and, kind of explain what the plot of the movie is about just so you guys get the idea, the production and stuff like that. So, I'm gonna definitely say this right now that this is kind of like the story of King Arthur, basically. Or, yeah, it takes place in the medieval times, so it takes place millions, well, probably not millions, but thousands of years ago. Maybe a million years ago. I don't know, but yeah, I could definitely say. In the United Kingdom version, it's called the Magic Sword Quest for Camelot, but in the US and other releases, it's the Quest for Camelot. So, it is based on the novel by it's based on the novel which is called the King's Damosel, which I will talk about that in another video or something because it's very loosely based on it. It's not entirely based on it, but it's loosely based on it. Like they took some elements from that basically, if you could get what I'm calling for, by Vera Chapman, which I'll be doing another video talking about that maybe in the future, but who really knows? Because, alright. I'm just going to sit here and say right now that this one has Don Rickles in the movie who voiced Mr. Potato Head. He sadly passed away sometime in 2017. I think he died from cancer or something, but he was a really funny guy. And we also have Eric Idle who is in this movie as well. He's a pretty cool guy and he's really funny too. So, alright. So with that being said, they actually have, Celine Dion and some other, singing voices for some of the characters, which is pretty interesting. So, of course, with that being said, this one was released the same year I was born in, but surprisingly, it was released a few months before I was born. So surprisingly, it's like almost 23 years old. Well, we'll be 23 years old this year. So, with that being said, without further ado, let's begin. Okay, this is the starts about Sir Lionel, who is one of the knights of the Round Table, and his daughter Kaylee dreams of becoming a knight like her father. So, however, at Camelot, and yes, this is based on the King Arthur story, or, well, kind of, but not really. One of the knights, an evil lord named Lord Rubber, wanting to overthrow King Arthur and attempts to assassinate him, but as Lionel sacrifices himself to save him, he is killed by Rubber, who flees from Camelot in exile after being repelled by Arthur's sword, or Excalibur, who during the Lionel's funeral, Arthur tells Haley, Kaylee, and her mother, Juliana, that they are welcomed to that they should come to Camelot. So over the years, Kaylee trains herself to become a knight while attending to her duties and her family's farm. Deciding later, Rubber's griffin attacks Camelot, stealing Excavator Merlin's pet falcon. Adrian attacks the griffin, causing the sword to fall into the forbidden forest. However, as the griffin flies away with the thorn bush of creatures the next day, Kaylee and Juliana argued over for her going off to Excavator herself. But that night, Rubber invades Kaylee's home and holds everyone hostage by using a potion that he purchased from the witches to create steel warriors and his humans as henchmen, replaced by Hen Pocket Rooster, who will become known as Bladebeak. And he also plans to use Juliana to gain her entrance to Camelot. So after escaping and overhearing Rubber and the Griffin's conversation, however, Kaylee decides to enter the Forbidden Forest, where she encounters Garrett, a blind hermit who basically ate an Aiden, who apparently saved her from Steel Man and Black Bladebeak by Rubber to capture her. So Kaylee convinces him to help find Excalibur, and much to his reluctance, they enter a dragon country and meet a wisecracking two-headed dragon named Devon and Cornwall. Yes, Devon and Cornwall are both voiced by Eric Idle and Don Rickles, the same people who I mentioned earlier, who hate each other, cannot breathe fire or fly. They want to be two individual dragons, but after escaping from the attacking dragons, Rubber and his henchmen, Devon and Cornwall, decide to join the group. So basically, Garrett reluctantly agrees after Kaylee convinces him. They camp in the forest where Kaylee learns that Garrett was once a stable boy in Camelot, but he was blinded by one of the horses that he was rescuing from the stable fire. Lionel stood by Garrett and taught him to adapt to his dreams and conditions. So the next day, when they find an excavator belt in the giant footprint, Kaylee's existence of distracting Garrett causes him to miss Aiden's signal, and this is he is injured by one of Rubber's men. Kaylee, on the other hand, uses a thorn bush creatures to trap the Rubber and his men, and escorts Garrett into the remote cave where the magic of forest heals Garrett's wounds. While in the cave, Kaylee and Garrett begin to fall in love eventually. Yes, I don't understand why, but a lot of people nowadays, when it comes to these movies, they do fall in love. I'm not even joking. If you've seen the movie, you probably already know what it is. So basically, when he basically fall in love, the next day the group decides to go into a giant cave where a rock ogre holds Excalibur in captive by using it as a toothpick. However, Kaylee succeeds on retrieving Excalibur, but they escape before Rubber gets to it. So as they exit out of the cave with Excalibur, Garrett chooses to stay in the forest, feeling uncomfortable in Camelot after he leaves. Rubber captures Kaylee and takes Excalibur and fuses it with his right arm. So before having Kaylee thrown into the wagon with Juliana, Devon and Cornwall, who witnessed it, rush to Garrett and convinces him to save Haley. By working together for the first time, Devon and Cornwall were able to fly and breathe fire, and they flew Garrett to Camelot, and Bladebeak reconciles and reluctantly henpicking Hen and frees Haley from the ropes, and then she warns the guards of Rubber's trap. Exposing him and his steel men, Garrett, Devon, and Cornwall arrive at the nick of time as Garrett comes to her aid and they enter the castle, while Devon and Cornwall rescue Hayden from the Griffin's clutches and the hold of the Griffin. So while they're inside, they try to find Rubber by attempting to kill Arthur with Excalibur, but gloating about how powerful he can be now, and Kaylee and Garrett intervene and trick Rubber into returning Excalibur to his stone by tricking to use it to disintegrate Rubber, inverts that Rubber or whatever, Sorry about that. I'm having a brain fart. I haven't seen this movie in so long. So, yeah. The Steel Man, including Blade Beak, was back to normal, but temporarily separates Devon and Cornwall, but they end up back together with his hugging each other. Later, the Camelot is restored to its former glory, and Kaylee and Gary get married and become Knights of the Round Table. So that was actually a really, really good story. Like, what a really good story that this is. This is just so amazing. I really do like that this story was actually really well made in detail. It was really awesome. I loved how, everything about it was just flat out amazing. So I could definitely say this story, I'm going to say, was a pretty interesting concept with it. So the surprisingly no, this movie was started. The production of the movie started around 1995 when the Quest for the Holy Grail was Warner Bros. Feature animated. It was the first project. So with that being the case, I'm just gonna say, they were just doing some other for more stuff going on. So as 1995 progresses, the film was put into production before it was finalized. During the fall of 1995, the animators were reassigned to finish Space Jam, while meanwhile the year before they were having Christopher Reeve as cast of King Arthur. But of course, let's just say that it didn't work out very well, and they had to push the movie release back a few years. But eventually, when 1998 hit, that's when they released it, because there was a lot of complicated concept with it. So it was kind of the reason why they wouldn't do too much stuff. But even though they're still trying to do certain stuff, and they were trying to sit there and have certain characters being voiced by certain actors and etc., but it just wasn't really working, so they had to push it back and stuff. So when it comes to making movies, they do tend to sit there and do that. So of course, the film was mainly animated by the Warner Bros. Feature Animation Studio deal in California, yeah, and sometime in London and England. But in January in 1996, the London Animation Studio was open. More than 50 animators were expected to animate the first 20 minutes of the animation, which would be set back and then linked and inked and painted. In addition to the studios working on other films and stuff, they were ended up still doing more or stuff going on. They still had, more that they had to create the ogre, which was a rock-like ogre by, you know, but of course they even know more they were more into trying to figure out how they can fix the animation and stuff. They were still doing it, and it was still in progressing as it went on. So with that being said, what did I actually think of this movie? Well, I could definitely say that the film originally slated for November 1997, but it was pushed to May to give the production team more time to finish the film, because the film was not really fully finished by 1997. So with that being the case, The Quest for Camelot was released on VHS and DVD in 1998 in October, and of course it was released in certain stuff. However, there is kind of like another film called The King and I have no idea what that is, but I might consider maybe doing a review on that one. I don't know. So while the DVD was making successful, rankings and stuff, the adaptation of this was The Quest for Camelot, the prior to the film. Now about the book, however, they were still doing more stuff, and however, as they were going more stuff, there used to be, I think, a ride or something called Camelot for Quest for Camelot Nights or something. I don't even know if that was kind of like a show or something. I don't even know, but that's from what I did hear. But anyways, with that being the case, they made a video game based on it. They made a Nintendo 64 version of it. They had planned for it, but it was scrapped due to the performance at the box office. So they ended up making more, concept with it. And yeah, I could definitely say this movie was actually pretty good and well made. I definitely really like it. As a kid, I don't remember watching it as a kid, but as an adult, I sat there and, watched it for the first time in like a long time. And I gotta say, I really liked the movie. Like, the movie itself was really well made in detail. I like, how the characters went out. Like, all the characters were really well developed. They had, got everything correctly. It was a pretty good story. I could definitely say I love the storyline behind it all. It's just really good and well made. It was like a very awesome story. So, I could definitely say if you guys have not seen this movie, I highly recommend you check this movie out, as this is a really awesome movie. You will not be disappointed, and I am guaranteeing you right now, you will not be that disappointed by it. So I'm gonna say that right now, that, if you haven't seen this movie, I highly recommend you check it out. But, with that being said, this is simply my own personal opinion on this movie, and if you happen to disagree with me, that's okay too. So you could just, oh, excuse me, sorry about that. Just link me down, not link me, but just kind of like explain what's your final thoughts on the story and stuff. So then that way you get like a better understanding of it. So that way you guys can sit there and, do something, just to sit there and give out your own thoughts and opinions on it. So I could definitely say that right now, that this story was awesome. Not gonna lie, it was a really awesome story, really well made. I really liked it. I liked the movie itself. The voice acting was, oh my goodness, it was amazing. The voice acting was very well made and detailed. It was believable, awesome. Just love it. So, with that being the case, if you guys happen to be, what do you guys think of this movie? Did you all enjoy it? Did you not? Also, what would you have done personally to help make this movie a lot better? Leave me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section down below. I'm the Queen of Lions. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. If you happen to be brand new here on this channel, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, because I make brand new videos every single day. Don't forget to ring the notification bell to when I upload, so then that way you guys will not miss an upload. So with that being the case, I will be catching you all in the next video. So peace out, everyone. And as always, I'll see you all later.